Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority. Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is a pilot. And Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. Now, we air your real estate voice every Saturday. If you can't listen to the entire show, it is always, always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or go ahead and search for it on podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. Every week, your real estate voice covers great information about the housing market and one of the largest assets people have, their home. Barb, what are we covering today?
Well, Richard, I'm always excited about doing this show because it's really fun for me, and I'm very grateful for the people that do tell me they listen. And today I wanted to talk about right now what's going on in the market and who actually has the advantage in negotiations on the sale of a house. You'd kind of be surprised on what you hear. The second topic is what should a home seller do if a house is not selling, and how you can fix it. And I will say that I get a lot of these calls now because people have their house sitting on the market, it's not moving, not showing. And I do feel like maybe you can tell me, Richard, there's a little bit of uncertainty in the market right now, principally because of the government shutdown, right? So
Right.
there's got to be a ton of government workers here in town that are, if they were thinking of buying a house, maybe they're like, well, maybe we should wait until we get this thing sorted out. What do you think?
Probably true, but I think the key here, and I know that you and I've known each other for a long time, but I think the key here is to continue listening for the remainder of this show and to stay tuned week after week because you will explain to people whether it's a government shutdown or just the economy slowing, whatever it is. You walked us through COVID, you walked us through all kinds of things. So I'm listening to the woman who is going to give the best advice on that.
Thank you. Yeah, I have been doing this a long time since 96 was when I started. So, and I've seen all kinds of stuff in the market. I mean, back then, I think when I first started, the rates were at 8.5 to 9%, and people were happy that they went down to 7. Right now, they're at 6.2 for conventional and under 6 for VA and FHA. And so I don't know why people aren't happy, except that a few years ago, we were seeing 3% interest rates, which drove the prices up. And now the payments are unaffordable. So for buyers, it's all about payments. And sellers are kind of surprised when they look backwards on historic sales and go, well, my house is like that. How come it's not selling? So that's one of the topics we're going to be covering is how do you prepare to get your home ready for sale? And then the third topic is really if your house is not selling, what can you do to correct it? I work with some professional sellers, and I will tell you on a regular basis, they are making price adjustments if the home is not selling. Now, it could be two problems. It could be pricing and it could be marketing. Sometimes it's just a marketing problem. So you really need somebody that's experienced to identify which problem it is and make sure you correct it as soon as possible. And very last topic, I love talking about our cash offer platform. I have more and more home sellers taking advantage of this because it's kind of like the easy button for selling houses. Very similar to the way CarMax sells homes. You get an online bid, then they confirm it, then they finalize the offer. And then a few weeks later, boom, you get your check. So we're going to talk about how that works and what are some examples and what would be the benefits of or risks of doing something like that, Richard?
We're heading into that holiday selling season. The Fed seems uncertain about lowering interest rates even a little bit more while demand is lower than last year. What kind of market are we in right now, Barb? A buyer's market where the buyer has the advantage or a seller's market?
Well, it just depends. I don't know that people should worry too much about what the Fed is doing because sometimes when the Fed adjust the rates down, we've seen mortgage rates go up. So there's no rhyme or reason to it as far as Fed behavior. I would just focus on just the basics of economic principles, supply and demand. Right now, we have higher supply and lower demand because the buyers are a little bit reluctant to make offers if they can't afford the payment. I met with a buyer just about a week ago, and we were trying to calculate roughly what he would qualify for in house payment. And he goes, well, I don't want to go that high, and I get it. So we have to figure out what is that payment amount that he'd be comfortable with, and that would translate to sales price. In general, the mortgage rates have been very, very stable in the past couple of months. However, some of the things I read this morning indicate that we're currently at a 52-week, the second lowest rate that we've been at in a whole year. So if you are thinking of buying, I would not wait around for prices to drop or rates to drop even more. Many of these lenders will offer a refinance program where you can make adjustments to your make a refinance. They call it rate and term refi. And some of the lenders don't even require an appraisal, where you can get that lower rate right away. Because in general, the buyers are searching based on house payment and what they can afford. And they look at everything. The thing that's kind of exciting to me is when you talk to buyers, they know everything there is to know about that type of home. They know the price range, they know what's available, they know whether or not it's overpriced. I think they know more than a lot of real estate agents do, because they're looking for a certain area and a certain price range of home. So they can see a good buy from a mile away. And that's why it's always good to be priced what I call realistically versus optimistically when you sell your house. That will definitely speed up the sales process. The people that push too hard on price, the market's going to tell you right away. You'll get light showings, very few offers, that kind of thing. And the one big surprise to me, when I look at the data, and this is pretty true for most of the counties up and along the Front Range, is that the prices have dropped anywhere from 20 to 30,000 since its peak in July. So that tells me, and that is the median list price, the asking price, that tells me that more and more sellers are reducing their price, and there's more larger, lower priced homes on the market than there were even in this past July. The other thing I've seen happen is the average days on market. What that stands for is from the day it goes on the market to the day the seller accepts a contract. That's considered average days on market. That has gone up very steadily too in the last 3 months. It went from 77 days to 97 days, and that's in El Paso County. So who has the negotiating advantage? I would say it's leaning buyer, but it's still seller. It really depends on where you price it. Another leading indicator that gives you kind of a good idea of what's going on is how do you compare price against pending sales? Like how many buyers are going, I'll take it, and they go under contract for a house. Now, what we've seen in the past couple of months, really since August, is a drop in pending sales. Some of that is seasonality, meaning, not as many buyers in the fall as we would get in the summer. But overall, if you look back to 2023, the numbers are fairly close. It's just that there's more homes on the market to compete with. And that's why it's taking longer to sell. At the end of the day, the best way to position a home if you're selling right now is to be the best home at the best price. And that's the way you get top dollar. Buyers are very well versed at what's out there, and they were looking for it. And it was funny, we held an open house last weekend, and I remember talking to this young couple, and they had very specific parameters. They have a brand new darling baby boy, and they were looking for a certain type of house that was on a quiet street, that was at a reasonable price that they could afford. They weren't too picky as far as condition of the home, but they were picky about getting a nice, safe location for their baby that was big enough for them. So it was kind of good to see that they'd really studied the market and they knew what was going on. Rates again are 1% high, less than they were a year ago and less than the high a year ago. So that's a good thing. But in general, there's fewer buyers to compete with as compared to the inventory. So if you go back to 2023, there were maybe about 2,000 homes on the market. This year, this summer, we had 4,000 homes on the market. So, but we're getting the same number of sales. So that would tell me that over time, it's going to drive the prices down just a little bit. Same thing for Douglas County, very similar for Pueblo County. But at the end of the day, if you hire somebody that really understands the market, they can help you position the home to win in a relatively short period of time. My name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show. And we're talking about who has the negotiating advantage right now in homes for sale today. And when we come back, we're going to touch on what sellers should expect to see and what they need to do in this current market condition. Richard?
So, Barb, we're discussing who has the advantage in negotiations of homes that are for sale today. Do the buyers or the sellers have that advantage in the current market?
Well, I think, all of the little gauges that I'm looking at on the statistical data providers are indicating that it's leaning more towards a buyer's market, which means many buyers are coming in either asking for a lower price or asking for the seller to help with their closing cost. But it's really, really important that you rely on the expertise of an agent. You don't want an agent just showing up and going, here's similar sales, go, right? You want somebody that educates you on what's going on in the market right now. What are your current competing competition? Like as an example, I was in a neighborhood yesterday driving around and I missed my turn, which was a good thing because when I went around the corner, I'm like, oh, no wonder this home is sitting on the market because around the corner, there's brand new homes that are priced very similar and the buyers are opting for that. Whereas this home was built 30 years ago and the floor is a little wonky and, buyers are just picking the best home that they can get at their price. But you need an experienced agent that knows how to negotiate and understands your current competition. Typical questions I get when a buyer brings an offer is, do you have any other offers? And when do the sellers want to move? So have that date and time and plan in your mind. Just so you know, the way the state contracts are structured, the buyer has a dozen opportunities to bail out of the contract, no harm, no foul, and get their earnest money back. Okay. So if a seller is agreeing to sell their house, they're telling the world that it has a contract, which creates demand destruction. I don't do that for my sellers. I keep it on the market till the very end. And then there's only a small window towards the end of the contract process where the deal is firm. Okay. And during that small window towards the end of the process, you got to move, right? So all of these things have to be factored in, and you really don't want to be surprised come closing day. So what should home sellers do? They need to prepare their home in order to command the highest price. A lot of people think if I put money into it, I should get that money out. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Buyers actually expect sellers to maintain their homes because they don't want to take on any problems. And hire the agent that actually can help you prepare for sale. The market's going to tell you if we got it wrong. You can tell by the number of showings, by the number of offers, all that kind of stuff. And we can help you do that. So all you need to do is give us a call at 719-301-3900. I have over 28,320 buyers in waiting just on my little website. And typically I can match at least 1,000 buyers to any home through the marketing that I'm doing. So call us at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll be discussing how you should prepare the home before you sell it. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss that.